All right. We're live, not live. We're semi-live. Exactly. Yeah, we're recording this, guys. This is the Bass Intel. It's a little podcast. We're going to start. Myself and Art Nabarian. He's one of the owners of Spear Point Hooks. And I hope I said your last name right, didn't I?
Yeah, spot on, man. Yeah, you say it enough, you get a hang of it.
Okay, all right. So anyways, guys, this is a little podcast we're going to start. This one we're recording. We're going to do some live stuff also. This one's actually recording. It's more of a test. We want to see how this goes. We want to try out some of our stuff, make sure it's going to work well when we do a live show. So anyways, that's what it is. So we're going to be messing around. There may be some kinks. We'll try to work those out when we download this and we see how everything worked and how it sounds. But that's what it is. We're gonna figure it out, right?
Yep. Just like the fishing. You show
just
up.
Like
it flooded last night all over Alabama.
I hope we figure it out quicker than we figured out some of these lakes.
Oh man. Well, it's funny, DJ, you say that. We both they call us transplants here. And so you went from Nevada to northern Alabama. Almost a year now.
A year and a half this month. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm working on 6 months, and that flew by real fast. And I came from California to your area, northern Alabama, Coosa River. So, being transplants, it has been an eye opener, huh? As far as fishing, dude.
It has. It's been and we've said it, and you've said it. Time on the water. My guess is in your 6 months, you probably put more time on these waters than I've been able to do. I haven't been able to get out as much as I've liked, but we're fixing to change that. We're going to switch it up. We're going to get on this lake and try to figure all these lakes out here in Guntersville. And we have a ton out here. I mean, I'm right here on Guntersville. You're close to the Coosa River.
Yeah.
We went and fished Smith Lake a couple weeks ago. We might go out and fish Logan Martin this weekend. We've got some other tournaments set up that we're going to be fishing all over Nevada. Again, I'm still in Nevada, all over Alabama, and we're going to try to figure these things out. So again, like I said, Art's one of the owners of Spear Point Hooks. That's a little background on yourself there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Spear Point Hooks?
Yeah. So Spear Point really started off as an idea going down the road to a tournament with my partner, my business partner, Eric Hennessy, was also my tournament partner back home. We fished a few seasons together, local club stuff. And so how it all started, man, it was pretty funny. We were fishing a local circuit. It was a pretty respectable one. We had all the local sticks in it. It was like 220 or 30 teams going on in that whole California deal. So long story short, we ended up doing really well. And with 3 tournaments left in the season, we were leading Angler of the Year points, dude. And we were like on track to take it, and we were excited about it. And then to make a long story even shorter, the last 3 tournaments of the season, we ended up just dumping some massive fish at the boat, dude. 5-6 pounders. It was like a epidemic. They were coming off left and right, and we just fell on our face last 3 tournaments of the season. Went from 1st to 5th, I think, and gave up AOY after leading it for like 80% of the season, So, and then we qualify for the TOC. We go to the TOC, and we find out that all the Angler of the Years from all the regions get to fish for free next year.
Free entries.
Just a stab in the heart, and Eric and I, we were just so frustrated with losing these fish, and especially fish that matters, dude. And you fish a lot and around the bigger stuff here in the last few years, and I've been doing some of the pro-ams in California, like the Wild West or whatnot.
Yeah, we've met up out at Havasu for
Yeah,
the
exactly. That's the
pro-am.
first time I met you there for the
Yep.
One Bass Arizona Open. But how many guys have you talked to or known personally who've literally watched bass boats swim off at the boat? Because you lose that one fish in a TOC.
Yeah.
That's that 8-9 pounder that's going to blow everyone's doors off. You're going to win it, big fish. You're taking the bass boat home, and that
Mm.
fish comes off, and you're watching a $60,000 boat swim off into 50 feet of water.
Quite a few times.
It's a disgusting feeling.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right. So when you live through that a few times or around that too much, your heart gets broken enough. You're like, we got to do something. So Eric and I, with his design background, my mechanical background, at the time he was a full-time correctional officer, and I owned an auto repair shop. I was running the shop and working as a mechanic and technician. So we just try to figure out what can we do so these hooks don't give out like that. You have the fish hook, you jack them, you fight them perfectly, right equipment, the whole nine, and then for some reason they just come off. And for us, that was the biggest letdown. And to me, in all of fishing, no matter what species, the biggest letdown in the sport is when your fish comes off. It is the point of where you're so high, you're like, I got one, especially if it's a big one. You're like, oh my God, your adrenaline, it's like you won the lottery, and right at the last minute when they're about to hand you a check, they just take it away from you, dude.
Snatch it right out of your hands.
So it's an ugly feeling. And so long story short, we came up with the design. It took a couple years to design it, modify it, prototypes, the whole nine. Finally had the final. The first one was the GP Finesse, which is one of the best finesse hooks ever made. And
the best that I've ever used.
Dude, I had a guy from Shasta, Rick Smith, great guy, one of our tournament directors over there. He calls me one day after fishing for a while. I said, hey, you can't believe what I did today. I said, what'd you do, Rick? He said, I went 50 fish today. I didn't lose a single fish, and I used the same one hook all day. And I was like, that's a testament right there. And anyone who knows Rick Stone from Shasta up in Northern California knows that is a stellar dude. And, for him to say something like that was like, okay, we have something special here. But that's how it all started, man. And it went from an idea to a reality. And then once we got into some pro anglers' hands, they used them, and they told us how much success they were having, literally going, a whole tournament without losing fish on that finesse hook. And at that point, we're like, we have something big, and we need to turn this into, a business and start really marketing it. And now 4 years later, almost 3 ICASTs, and 4 years later, this is where we're at.
Yeah. Hey, and I can attest that ever since I've started using your hooks a couple of years, well, how long have I? A couple of years?
3 years, bro. You've been on it with us from day one. I remember when we first started, and I was doing shipping at a warehouse, but customers' orders would come in through the website, like pro staff orders. I know I got to thank you, because in the beginning you did support us, and you were putting in orders like, twice a month and sometimes even more. And it was like, we had some core supporters from day one, and you were one of them who, you constantly saw the orders come in, and we'd throw extra stickers in there and
you
stuff.
would. Oh yeah.
And, we just want to make sure throw a couple of extra packs in there, because we appreciated the business. And it started from a couple of guys in a warehouse and an idea to what it is now. And it still is, a couple of guys and a pro staff that we have built. Now after 3 years, it's starting to become really successful and reputable, and it all moves so fast, but it's all a reality now, and we're living it. We're living our dreams as far as working in the industry, and being an angler especially. It helps being involved in a company like this, because what happens is you get so much real life experience, real world data using the product, and what you can do or what anglers are asking for. A good example was that Fury hook. So many people wanted that in Alabama, and the minute it showed up, it was like sold everywhere. So it's been a cool 4-year experience for us on the market. I know Eric and I have been having a lot of fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it is I've given out a few of my hooks packets to guys fishing for the same reason. I said, and being from the West Coast, we're both from West. I actually lived in California for my first 25 years of my life before I moved to Las Vegas, and now here. But I've given them out to my buddies, and I'll tell them, you know what? I said, try these out drop shot wise. I guarantee and I hate to say guarantee because
Right.
you never know, but I say guarantee. Once you hook some drop shot fish with that GP finesse, you will not go back to any other hook. I never went back to anything else. That's the only hook I use. I wouldn't even think about using anything else. I mean, that thing is money, and you're right. You don't lose them.
That's crazy, dude. Quick story about it. So we got the first set of prototypes years ago, right? And we're like, final wires, the right wire, everything. We're like, okay, we're gonna go fish, and we got them in the evening, and it was summer. And I told a couple of my buddies, I said, hey, you guys want to go night fishing? It was like July, hot, and we actually had a good 3/4 moon. So like, hey, let's just go do some night fishing. And West Coast lakes fish really well at night because it's so hot in the summertime and it's all rock, so the lakes heat up super fast. And then at night the big fish show up. So it was me in my boat, my buddy, and a couple other guys in their boat. And everyone had a handful of the 1/0 GP finesses. The first prototypes were all 1/0s. Yep. So we all went out there, Nico rigging, wacky rigging, drop shotting at night, whatever we could do, right? And that night, dude, these are the first set of prototypes, right? That night, combined with the guy on my boat and my buddy and his cousin, I think at the time, Josh and Jason, it was me and DJ, Josh and Jason, and we had caught over 40 fish that night, and nobody lost a single fish that night. Mm-hmm. And we were like, this is crazy. What the heck? Like, it was silly because you went, I mean, how often do you go fishing and not lose a fish? Very rarely, right?
Rarely.
Very rarely. You're always losing 1 or 2 fish here and there, but to go like 2-3 trips, or one guy emailed us one time, said he's gone 3 weeks flipping without losing a fish. Like catching, 5 to 10 fish a trip for 3 weeks. I'm like, mind blown.
It sounds mind blowing, but I believe it. You know what I mean? I've seen it. Hartwell was the same way. I was using the GP finesse. I was wacky rigging a Senko. I didn't lose them fish that entire tournament. Cool. Getting the good fish was, that was my problem. But once I hooked them, they didn't come off. I can't remember losing one.
That's cool, man.
The only time, actually I did lose some fish, but it wasn't on a spear point. It was on a jig.
Yeah.
It was on some swim bait, that I was throwing. But anything I was wacky rigging or drop shotting, didn't lose them.
That's cool. Well, speaking of jigs and all that, so we already have a few jig makers and hard bait makers who are going to be bringing on the spear point in the future in 23. Mm-hmm. Can't quite drop names yet because some of the stuff's going to be released at shows and stuff like that. Yep. So you're going to see some really cool stuff with spear point hooks in them stock now. Yeah. And that's going to really change the game for all the anglers because everyone's been asking for jig hooks. And actually next year, we're doing our best ASAP to release to the public a jig mold hook. So go in your Do It molds, your other molds. You can make swim jigs. You could put a spear point in anything you want now. So
it's getting that. You guys this year, Spear Point came out with a ton of hooks.
Yeah,
you guys really went from that GP finesse and that EWG, that lighter wire EWG, and then when I saw the pamphlet that you sent me when you had all the new stuff coming out, wow! I mean, it was from a couple hooks to like almost an entire lineup.
A setup, a whole set. Well, you got 9 more, total now. So we had to make sure there was heavy hooks for the guys in Florida and in the South. So the Fury, that's been a rock star hit. So the Fury, and then the heavy wire extra wide gaps, and also we've raised the point on the wide gap so it's a little above the eye, so you get a lot better penetration on that heavier hook. So along with that, straight shank hooks, trailer hooks for spinner baits, buzz baits, that's been a big hit. Yeah. Straight shanks, offset worm hooks, the whole 9. We got a weedless GP finesse coming.
Weedless GP finesse, I can't wait to get my hands on those. Because even the heavier wire EWG was one I remember talking to you about, saying, "Man, I just need a little heavier gauge on that thing," because I loved using it, and it works fine out at Lake Mead and stuff, where I don't have any grass or anything. But you come out here and you've got grass everywhere and stumps and trees, and you need something with a little more beef on it.
Yeah, so 100%. And the guys here, guys don't throw spinning rods and light line like we did back home. It's funny. I caught a a nice spot. It was like a 4-pound spot on the spinning setup back home when I was there last winter. And I send a picture to a friend of mine in Florida, and he's always telling us, oh, we need the heaviest hooks, right? Everyone's throwing heavy line, this and that.
Yeah.
So I sent him a picture of this 4-pound spot on the deck and a GP finesse in its mouth and 8-pound line coming out. And he texts me back, goes, what pound test is that? I said, 8. He goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, dude, the spiders in Florida thread silk with 8 pounds. he goes, hey, nobody puts 8-pound test on no reels here, so, but they're used to straight 65, 80-pound braid. And if it's fluoro, I mean, 15 is light line,
Yeah.
And I honestly, just growing up in the South, fishing in the South, not the South, sorry, the West, coming to the South, I noticed that, look, we've caught plenty of big fish on 12-pound fluoro. Plenty, right?
Yeah.
And but here's the thing. If you don't use that, if you don't throw that back home, you're not getting bit.
Mm-hmm.
They see it. It's so clear. But here, so what I've done is when I got here, actually, I had some rods that had 12-pound line on it that I would throw like small football head jigs on back home at Shasta.
Yep.
And I came out here, start throwing those and jacking some of these spotted bass in the Coosa. And dude, I had no problem fighting those fish on 12-pound test. And I'm probably not going to break one off that easy anyway, because straight P-line fluoro 12-pound is pretty strong line.
Yeah.
So I'm still fishing a little on the lighter end over here, and I think it's helping me get bit a little better, to be honest.
I still throw. I'll go out, on Gunnersville here with 3 or 4 spinning rods on the deck. You and I have been out there. I mean, I've had to adjust how I fish a little bit, but I still throw 6-pound drop shot line out here. We're not in the grass 24/7.
No.
So, you can still catch fish. I mean, heck, I've caught, when I was just up at Erie, I was catching smallmouth out of the Detroit River on 8-pound. And that was with the current. It was ripping, dude.
Right.
And I went from 6 to 8 just because of the current. I mean, because once they get down into that current, they're going, they're just ripping. But even out here, you and I'll go out and I'll still drop shotting with 6.
Yeah.
You can catch them out here on that. It is different. I have, over the last 2 years, I have gone heavier on most of my stuff than I used to if I was back at Lake Mead, Mojave, Havasu, wherever. So I've upped my line game up here, and we can get more bites on the lighter stuff, but you're right. You have to up it a little bit out here.
Yeah.
And I've done that, and that's been over the last 2 years fishing NPFL stuff. It's like you were saying, losing fish. So if I get the bite, the last thing I want to do is lose a fish.
Right.
So where 12, maybe 15 was like the heaviest I had to go on me and Mojave. I didn't have to go any heavier than that. I went up, and I think for most of the time I'll probably throw in 17 to 20, fluoro.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the difference in, where we're fishing now and where we used to fish.
Yep. Yeah, you got to adapt. Baits too. I mean, I'm starting to see for me at least, it's playing out to be more of a reaction lake. Mm-hmm. Like the Coosa. Let's take the Coosa because from Weiss Lake all the way down to Jordan, there's 6 lakes on there. You got Weiss, you got Neely, you got Logan Martin, and then you got Lay, Mitchell, and then Jordan, right? So they all look very similar, very, very similar structures. Some of them have different underwater stuff than others, but for the most part, 80% of those lakes are very identical. Same kind of fish. You got big, decent largemouth, big largemouth, some of them, and good sized spots. But with the water clarity and the current, I feel like I've done better going down certain stretches that have, certain docks or riprap or man-made seawalls, whatever, and crank good fish out of there and caught some nice ones. And jerkbait fish, now that it's gotten colder, I've caught some real good jerkbait fish. I tried flipping and doing the pitching and all that stuff. It's different in the Coosa because you don't have that thick grass like in Guntersville. You have the Coosa River grass like willow grass. It's sparse, and you can actually. So since our show is about intel, right?
Yeah.
I want to share something. Both of us are here. What are we doing most of the time on the water? Trying to just figure it out, right? Whether it's bait, it's a technique, a color. What are we going to do to get bit? Because compared to the other anglers who've been living here 20, 30, 40 years, we're so new that it's going to take us so much time to cover that kind of knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. So we go out there and we do goofy stuff and right. So what I start doing, I realize that, okay, sometimes I get bit if I throw my bait, flip, a plastic or a beaver in between the willow grass or switch jig or run a buzz bait through it because you don't really get hung up in it. And that works. But one day I was fishing the stretch of rocks and catching a couple. And right before I got to the end of the rocks, there was a patch of this grass. And in this particular patch, the stalks were further away from each other. I had about 8 inches. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm just going to keep throwing my crankbait right in between these little gaps, man. And as soon as I throw the crankbait in there, crank down 2-3 times, I was on. And they were good fish. They're like 2 1/4, 3/4, almost 3-pound fish. And I was like, okay. So I went down the rest of the lake that day, and I start throwing a crankbait, a shallow diver, Rapala DT4, stuff like that, just throwing it right into the grass and bringing it right down, and I was getting bit. So something unorthodox, right, for the area. Someone's not going to just go throw crank in grass, but that worked for me that day, and I caught fish, and I thought I was on a pattern. But the thing about the Coosa River, I'm starting to find out, is you can be on some gold one day, and the next day it is gone, man. And so I went out there and I tried that a few other times. I couldn't get bit. I said, okay, it must have been a fluke, but you never know. It was different. If you fish the Coosa and you fish willow grass and you see, gaps in between them, maybe you want to throw a small crankbait in there instead of flipping something. If the flipping bite's not on, maybe it's a hard reaction bite in the grass. Yeah, and that's a legit bite. Got a lot of guys just don't even touch. Throw a crankbait in grass? You kidding me? Right?
Yeah. 90% of the guys are going through there with a swim jig or vibrating jig, something like that, right? Same. Yep. They probably see the same bait come by 5 times in a day.
100%, dude. And then you get a little crankbait come right through the grass, and oh my God, bait fish or perch, and they just kill that thing. So, that's kind of what we do on this show. Also, DJ and I wanted to break that down to you guys. Being in the region, he's up in Guntersville, I'm down here on the Coosa, and we're always fishing a lot of stuff. Next year, we're going to be fishing the ABT 100, and that's going to be Wadowee, Alabama River, and Smith Lake. So we're going to be covering a lot of ground, doing a lot of practice, and then sharing knowledge with the guys. And that's what this show's about, sharing some of that stuff, and especially for the younger anglers who are always trying to find some new knowledge and a new way of doing things. That's where we come to the table. And, when we go live into future shows, and we'd be glad to talk to guys and answer questions about Neely, Henry, Guntersville, any of the stuff we went to, Wadowee. So that's kind of what we want to bring to the table is true knowledge and intel. And if you figure something out and you want to share it, so the next guy can catch some fish, hey, more power to you. And we welcome that here.
Yeah. I see. When I'm on Facebook or whatever, you see that a lot is guys asking, hey, I'm making my yearly trip to Guntersville for the week.
Right.
What are they biting on? I'm not asking for spots. Just if you guys can tell me what they're eating right now. So we'll try. We're going to try to bring that to the show. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to get with some guides and maybe have them give us a rundown of how the lake is fishing. Just a basic rundown of what the lake's looking like, and maybe what they're catching them on, their techniques, stuff like that. That way, guys that do watch, they have an idea if they're coming down here. Because I've noticed there's a lot of guys that come down to Guntersville, all these lakes around here, that'll come down for the week. Like that's their yearly deal. I was up at Eufaula 2 years ago, and the guy right next to me in a cabin next to me was telling me the same thing. He's like, this is our yearly trip. We come to Eufaula every year for a week, me and my nephew and this and that. We stay here for a week. And I started noticing there's a lot of that out here. Guys coming up that they just do this as their weekly trip. They go to Guntersville for a week. They go wherever for, Eufaula for a week. And that's their yearly trip with all the boys.
Mhm.
So if we can help them out with this show, maybe giving them some tips on things they're biting or what's going on with the lake, with some of the guides and some of the stuff you and I are figuring out while we're out there, hopefully they'll get something from it, and then their trip will be a little better.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And, being with Spirit Point, we have a handful of pros in the South, Tucker Smith, Logan Parks. We have Justin Hammers on our team. We actually have another gentleman joining here shortly. We will be announcing that here in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be cool. So our Alabama team is strong, and we have a lot of good guys, a lot of great fishermen, knowledgeable people. And the thing I noticed, and I'm sure you noticed this too, DJ, moving here now, there's a lot of dedication for the sport in the West Coast, particularly California. Clear Lake, Shasta, those guys. Some of the most hardcore dedicated anglers you'll ever meet, right? And we fished against them all these years, especially those Havasu guys, man. I mean, one of the toughest lakes, dude, to fish. And when those guys got it dialed in, they're catching like 18, 19 pounds when guys can't even catch one keeper. Oh, it's a tough lake, right? So
yeah.
Seeing how different it is here compared to over there, one thing I did notice is the culture, dude. Like, I go into a Walmart here and I see 6, 7 kids, different jerseys on, different high school fishing teams, and everyone's fishing. It's like a true lifestyle here to be a bass angler. And so seeing that, and then at the dock too, I meet a lot of kids. I fished a few local tournaments here in Nakusa and met kids and college kids. And one of the tournaments I got lucky on, I got on some fish and I won it. And I was, talking to them about it and sharing knowledge. And that's what it's about, is bringing that knowledge to the table. And over here, there's a huge culture in Alabama, and I haven't seen anything like it, honestly. I've been to other states who are big fishing states, Florida and all that. And I'm not being biased because we live here. It's our home state now. But, dude, I can't tell you there's another state in the United States that is as hardcore and dedicated to bass fishing as Alabama is.
No, you and I have both seen that the last, so you've been here for 6 months. For the last year and a half I've been here. It's crazy. I mean, you can go by, I drive down the street. I'm a minute from the launch ramp from my house.
Yeah.
But there's not a day that I go by and there's not bass boats.
Yeah.
When you pull around the corner. I mean, there's not a day.
Yep.
Middle of the week to Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's not like that. And, there's guys that have a day off and they'll run out and go to Mead for a day, whatever thing. But I can go on this lake probably any day of the week and probably see 40 bass boats, in one little area.
Yeah.
And it helps that there's, 40 different launch ramps you can launch from, but the culture is different. That's for sure. I love it. I know you're a big fan of it out here. I'd be more than happy not to ever go back to Las Vegas. I've been there a long time and I got good friends, and that fishing is fun. It's definitely different, but to be able to be here and you and I fish some of these night tournaments. I mean, in the summertime, we can literally fish 7 days a week, I think.
Oh yeah.
If we wanted to fish a tournament, we could probably fish a tournament almost 7 days a week out here.
Literally.
Where in Nevada, it's like, hey, we got 2 different tournament circuits, team tournaments, and we got one this week and one the next week, and then there's nothing until the following month or something.
Yep.
Not out here. And I love that.
Yeah. They live, breed bass fishing. And that was part of the reason we moved here as a family, is because, a lot of the stuff was going crazy in California, and it was real hard, the cost of living and so many things. And here, Spirit Point was growing so fast, and with all the advancements we're doing and being so close to the lakes here, and all the big tournaments are here, and, going out, supporting our pros out there on the docks before these big elite events, and being able to be out there. And it's just a different kind of support, different kind of lifestyle, like we said, but it's good growth for our company because we're meeting people all the time. We're introducing our products to people who otherwise wouldn't have bought it. Like I know since I've been in Alabama, I've probably just, because you're at the ramp, like you said, you always either run into a guy pulling a boat out or dumping a boat in or whatever. You pull your boat out, there's a guy right there. So everyone I see, literally, I'll go up, hey, buddy, here's a sample pack. Try them out. try them out. And I've given out hundreds of packs to random anglers at the ramp, you know,
Mhm.
4 in the morning or 7 in the evening pulling out. But and that's what helps me as part owner of the company is that there's always someone on the ground, boots on the ground, dude, and it's in the heart of bass fishing. And the people have taken so well to our brand and show us a lot of respect every time I show up. It's funny, so many of them call me the Spear Point guy, you know, and hey, the Spear Point guy's here, or they'll call someone and say, hey, here's a number to the Spear Point guy, call him. And then it got to a funny little joke. So I just changed my name on Instagram to the Spear Point guy.
The Spear Point guy. Yeah.
Might as well. That's how they know me, right? So that was funny and it turned out pretty good. But that's been it, man. I know from what we've learned here so far, I know we haven't hardly learned much because it's just always we go back out and it's different or something's happening that we're either behind on or too early or whatever, right?
Well, so. Yeah, these lakes, that was probably the hardest thing to get used to, just traveling around as back west. Well, the lakes don't change as much.
Right.
Lake Mead, we can have, a cold 7 days. It doesn't change that lake. It's so big and so deep that, it doesn't change it. But you come out here and, for instance, right now we know they're dropping the water on Guntersville.
Yep.
I had someone come talk to me the other day and they said, man, I've never seen them drop it this much. Wow. And it can, that water is fluctuating so much and the temps drop so much here and it does affect the water here. So those changes have been tough for me to figure out versus back home where usually it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a slow, gradual change of the water and stuff.
Not
but
overnight.
Out here, overnight,
And what's
change that quick.
Is I've never seen this before, and I think it's the only lake in the country, or hell, even the world. But Neely Henry on the Coosa, the way it bends and turns upriver where it starts coming into the main lake, there's a hairpin turn. It's like that, right? It's Minnesota Bend, and it's like literally a up and back down, and the water bottlenecks there, dude. And what'll happen is they're opening the dam up down lake and it's dumping water out. And by the time the water comes in from the other dam up north, Weiss Lake, it bottlenecks at Minnesota Bend. And what'll happen is you'll have full pool reservoir from Minnesota Bend back. And then from Minnesota Bend to the dam, it's down 3 foot. Yeah. The same body of water, same exact body of water is down 3 foot, 10 miles down the lake. Isn't that bizarre?
We'd never see that out west. Never.
Crazy. So that's just a testament of to how out there the South Lakes are compared to the West. If you come from the West and you haven't traveled out of the West your whole life, this is going to be like, oh, where'd you bring me? I don't like it. But if you're adaptable and you're a reaction fisherman and you can go around and put things together, you have enough experience in your angling lifetime, your career, whatever, to say, okay, it's dirty water, shallow water. What do we have to do to get bit? In my case, it was like, I just need to go out and crank, and I got the jerk bait. I got to fish fast. And my best bet in my mind was I need to get reaction bites. I can't get feeding bites, and I'm not getting the best feeding bites, flipping bites, stuff like that. So I need to pull them, make them react, piss them off, whatever. But my ticket now is I was a big time reaction fisherman back home, jerk baits, top water, the whole nine. I would prefer it over anything else. So it was easy for me realizing, okay, I'm just going to throw my hands up and just 3/4 reaction rods and hard baits and just go burn water all day. For me, it worked out. So maybe if you're someone who's coming into town on a vacation or like us moved here and you're having trouble flipping and doing all this, dude, pick up a bait that you like burning some, whatever, spinner bait, crank bait, whatever, and just go burn banks. You'll be surprised how many fish you're going to get to react to it. And good ones. I've caught 2 fish over 5.5 here in the Coosa and blown me away. These fish are just showing up out of nowhere. And all I had to do was go out there and burn a crankbait. Okay.
Yeah.
No so that's the whole thing is one thing you'll find out about DJ and I is if we are in the tournament and we crack them or we're out there fun fishing, unless it's, the week before any of our ABT events, we're not going to spill all the beans, but we're going to tell you, give you an idea at least for example, even if we were catching them cranking, the thing about it is here, and you can relate to this, DJ. How many times has someone told you, dude, I am smoking them on a crankbait in Havasu or meat or whatever? Here's the color, here's the bait. Go at it. And of course, us respectable bass guys, unless you're partners, you're not going to just jump out and say, hey, where, what point, what
exactly.
dip?
Yeah.
No one, you're not going to do that, right? So if the guy's generous enough to tell you, hey, it's this crankbait, this color, this depth, and then you go out there and you cannot catch a fish, and then he comes back at the tournament and says, I just bagged up 18 pounds. And you're like, I threw that bait. And he's like, I don't understand what you did wrong, right? And that's why I've always tested that scenario, even with my friends. I've always given them the info, the intel, the whole nine, beside the actual coordinates, right?
Sure.
And I've went and done phenomenally well, and they did not. So that's the thing. We're willing to give it all out and let people know. And if you're a younger angler, that's just some information that's hard to come by.
We'll give it away. That's for sure. We don't mind.
Baby.
I mean, I did that with my travel partners, Jay Craney and Travis Jewell. We'd all talk, obviously.
Yep.
And I'd tell them, here's what I'm catching them on. You know, give it a shot. I'm getting bites on that. But Jay would come back at the end of the day and go, dude, I couldn't get bit on that. And I'd get bit on it all day. But then he'd get bit on something else. So we can give out the information, and maybe it'll help you because maybe you'll fish the same way I fish or the same way you fish. So that bait or technique will work for you.
Yep.
But, you know, if I go tell a buddy, you know, one of my buddies that doesn't even own a spinning rod, that, hey, here's what I'm catching them on. I'm drop shotting in this. He may grab a drop shot and fish that deep. He's just not used to it. And it's not something he does. So he may not get anything on it. You go, man, I did what you said, but I don't fish that way. And I didn't catch anything. So I went back to throwing my 3/4 ounce jig, you know, on points and this and that. And that's what I caught a few fish on. So we'll give it out, and, you know, and if it works for you, great. You know, at least maybe we helped you figure something out.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Well, I'm excited about, we're gonna do these, and we're gonna try to do them once a week. You know, if we get a little crazy and we want to do one because something's coming up and we want to talk about it, maybe we'll do another one because these are real easy.
Right. They're fun.
And they're easy to do. And if we've got some guys that are coming up that we can get on and to help you guys out, we'll get them on. We're also going to do some filming with the ABT 100 when we fish it this year.
Yep.
We're gonna be filming on the boat. We're gonna pre-fish the whole 9 yards. We'll put that all out there. Like I said, we're gonna try to get a guide on every week for you guys, let you know what's going on, at least what they're doing out there. They're on the lake every single day, so they know probably better than we'll know daily what's happening. So we'll get them on. What else we got going? Other than, like we just said, the guide, the videos that we're going to shoot from the ABT 100.
Mm-hmm. And then DJ, let me add a few things too. Like we're definitely going to have some of our Spear Point pros on the show. Now, aside from Alabama, we got, you know, guys like Brandon McMillan, probably one of the best flippers and punchers out of Florida. You know, Mac will definitely come out here. We'll have some questions for him, and then, you know, we'll see. I know his schedule's super busy, but Brian Latimer, you know, he's a great guy and huge following, and people really like his videos, and he's very educational too. Like if you watch his videos, you're really learning some stuff, and he's doing his best to, you know, share a lot of good knowledge with anglers. So, you know, stuff like that. So coming up in the next 5-6 weeks, you know, of course we got the holidays here coming up, but, you know, going into January, we're really going to be out there when the Bassmaster Classic comes up. I'll be there myself.
I'll be there. Yeah, that's right here in Tennessee. That's
buddy. So
4 hours from us, max.
That's it. I think we just made a trip together now, right here. On
yeah,
the show. So,
that's right. We're going.
That's it. We're going, dude. So we'll go out there, have a good time. We'll give you content. We'll talk to people, get some interviews from our pros, and you know, it's something fun to do for DJ and I, and we're just
I mean, we call each other and we'll talk on the phone about fishing for an hour, anyways.
Yeah.
why not put it on here
Exactly.
and put it out to everybody? I mean, we're going to do the same thing, just shooting the shit on the phone.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we put it out here. So I'm looking forward to getting some of these guys on and picking their brains. I'm looking forward for us getting out and doing some more fishing, trying to figure these lakes out.
Yep.
I my tournament season for next year has changed a little bit. And some people, I know I had some buddies ask what happened. Where were you at the last NPFL? And I had to miss that one. So I figured I'd throw that out right now just because I haven't really let a lot of people know, but most people have heard a little something. But my wife has an illness. She had cancer. She has cancer, and we're getting that treated. And so I had to miss that last NPFL. We had started her treatments. We're actually down to 3 days left for her treatments. So next year with the NPFL, I was going to fish that. But with everything going on right now, and we're not sure, we have appointments that we have to go to, checkups after we're done, just to make sure everything went well. It was something I couldn't be that far from home for the season. I mean, first tournament is down at, I think, Amistad or something like that, down in Texas. I can't be leaving for 10 days at a time. So I'm not fishing the NPFL next year. I'll probably be back the following year, but next year I'm done. So that's why Art and I are jumping in these ABT 100s. I can do stuff that's close to home. You know what I mean? And so we're going to do that. I think I'm going to fish the Toyota Series this year. You and I were talking about that too. You were thinking about maybe jumping in that.
Yeah, my schedule is going to be crazy with all the shows and everything. But I think, looking at it, I might be able to just do one-off deals, like maybe do the Smith Lake one.
The first one's on Gunnersville. So
yeah, if I could squeeze it in my schedule, it's gonna.
Right.
We try to fish so much around here; it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
What's funny? Since I got here, I have, and in 6 months, check this out, I've put 125 hours on my outboard, dude. In 6 months. That just should tell you how much I mean, some days, some weeks, I won't even lie. Being less than 2 miles from the ramp, I've gone out 5 days a week.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's running. You're running up and down the Coosa. I mean, Neely Henry, and some of these lakes are 50, 60 miles long, and you're going from upriver to main lake. And dude, you put hours on these outboards. So yeah, and we both anticipate fishing a lot more next year. So
a lot more. I literally, I think I told you last time we were out that I think just my last NPFL tournament on Erie, I think I fished more on that lake in that week, hour-wise, than I have in Gunnersville in a year and a half. And my buddies are like, dude, you live so close. You're right. Well, how are you not? And if I'm not here or I'm traveling or I've got, the house, whatever we're working, I just haven't had time. So this year, though, is the year that we're going to start hitting that up. My wife's already told me, hey, get out there and start learning this lake and get going on it because it's a big lake. It's the biggest lake in Alabama.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's a lot to learn on it. And especially fishing the way I fish coming out here, I'm learning, you know what I mean? I'm still learning this stuff out here. I've been strictly pretty much a West Coast guys. I think I had 2 tournaments where went out to Bull Shoals and Table Rock. And of course, both those lakes are similar to our Western lakes. But then I got out here. I mean, when I fish Florida here, it's a whole different deal. So I'm looking forward to getting out on Gunnersville, getting down with you, fishing the Coosa, or wherever we're going to go. I mean, we've in an hour and a half, you and I both have 10 lakes.
It's crazy, and they're all the juice too. Like I mean, they're one bad. I mean, it's cool.
There's not one bad. We were out at Smith Lake 2 weeks ago. I mean, pretty much trying to figure that one out too, and we figured a little something out at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it took us all day, but about 4 hours left in the tournament day, we figured a little something out. Problem was we couldn't get any size.
Yeah, that slot limit, I tell you, you really got to be on them at Smith because, I mean, 15-inch spotted bass is a good spotted bass, and you have to have, if you're mostly fishing for spots anyway, but everything has to be a 15-incher. So one thing I tell you what, DJ, I've been doing a lot of talking to people around here about Smith and stuff like that, and so check this out, and whoever's watching this is local. I wonder if they agree with this, but one of the local guys here said because of the blueback herring, he said the biggest spotted bass in that lake are literally constantly living on the main lake and chasing herring. They will go to spawn in the spring. They'll literally dump their eggs and they're back after the herring. He goes, it's a 24-hour deal for them, 24/7. They're chasing herring. So I think next time we go out there, we need to focus on some of the real good main lake stuff they will be on, and really go after them. And another thing too is, one guy told me, he goes, it's funny, you go up there with your live scope and you look under a dock and it'll be empty. He goes, you throw your fluke or you throw your bait, and as your bait starts slowly falling, you see 3-4 of them just show up out of nowhere. And he said they'll sit under those floats with their backs on the floats, literally touching the float, and so that's one thing.
That lake reminds me a lot of Hartwell.
Yeah.
Same thing, dude. Those fish are on those blueback. Yeah, they come up and they'll eat and spawn and they'll get shallow and stuff. But that main lake bite is money. And I actually, when it's funny you said that about those fish, because when I was out there on a dock at Hartwell, I saw that a fish literally just up underneath, but his fins were sticking up out of the water.
Wow.
He was that tight underneath that dock and that high up in it.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure my life scope wouldn't have picked it up.
Yeah.
He was on the top of the water.
For sure. That's crazy. And, Clear Lake back home in California, fish is similar certain times of year where these bass will get up on the shadows, right where the shadows of the docks and the wood is. They'll be like stuck. And then the minute anything comes past that shadow, it's boom, right? So like we would just go throw flukes, and everything you throw would be weightless. And you would just throw at anything that looks good, and they would come out from it and eat it, dude. So, like, I'm starting to think that next time we go to Smith, we need to take our weightless game together and put it together. And whether it's throwing big flukes weightless, throwing big Senkos, or even a small type shad bait nose hook. But I think those spotted bass that are living under those docks or holding under them, it'll be real easy to get them with something that's just kind of fluttering.
Oh, yeah.
There, you know what I mean?
And we didn't run more than 10 minutes from the ramp.
Yeah.
So it's not like you and I hadn't been out there. We didn't make some long run. Oh, we got this stuff up the lake. I mean, we were 10 minutes away at the most.
Yeah.
I mean, because you and I went out and we just started fishing. Hey, this point looks good. We drive up. Hey, look around. Let's go somewhere else. End of the day, we weren't 10 minutes from the launch ramp. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, halfway through the day, we ran back to the launch ramp, fished there, and then ran back out to where we were at. So we'll learn that lake.
Dude, what we found was some juice, though. I've been looking at it on the map.
We did, yes.
That was. I know at one point in the next few tournaments we fish, I know we'll go back there and And
that's the thing. You and I have fished some tournaments together, and I'll be honest, we haven't done great.
Yeah, I don't know. We flat out some of these tournaments where you leave like, man, we need to figure this damn lake out.
And that's part of the problem is you and I go out and fish, and we literally call each other, hey, there's a tournament tonight. You want to go? Yeah, sure. Have you been on the lake? I haven't been on the lake in 3 weeks. All right, let's just go fish it.
Exactly.
It's tough to compete when there's guys that have been on the lake, every day this week. And that's just them just going out and fishing. Not like they've been pre-fishing for the tournament. Everyone lives so close. They're just like, they run out for 3 or 4 hours every day just to get on the lake. So we'll figure them out, especially when we start actually putting in pre-fish time for these tournaments rather than just winging it. We've literally winged every tournament we fished in. Not one did we have anything.
One thing that we probably could do, and I was thinking about the other day, is because we've never been to Wadowee and the ABT 100, that's an important tournament for us. So maybe one of these days we can boat drive down there with our boats. Oh, yeah. Then, hey, look, you're running from this because there's a highway that kind of splits the lake. Mm-hmm. So you run everything north of that. I run everything south. Then we meet at noon and we tell each other what we found. And then you go south, I go north, and we just really saturate that lake. Now, for some of the guys watching, that is a very, very good way for two partners to cover a lot of ground. So you take both your boats. You find a halfway point, and one guy goes south from that halfway point, one guy goes north. At noon, you come share info, and then you swap. And then, I mean, you can figure out a ton from a lake by doing that. So we'll do that, and we'll film that stuff. We'll make some content about these trips and let you know how that went. But I know we have maybe about a 2-month deal before that tournament, and I think we.
About 2 months. I think it's January 21st.
Yeah, something like that. But
it's first one.
For my estimation, because of how little we know about that lake, I think whether it's together or by ourselves or combined, I think we probably need solid 10 trips to that lake.
Oh yeah.
If I could squeeze them in, I could probably squeeze in, 5,
We
6 for
we
sure.
won't get 10, but
Yeah.
but you know what? If we each bring our boats, like you said, if we can get
Yeah.
5 in, it's really like 10 days of pre-fish.
Yeah, it is, dude.
Because
Honestly,
we're each doing our own thing and we're each figuring something else out
Yep.
on a different part of the lake.
Yep.
So you're right. He's right. I mean, I've done that with other guys up at the Delta. I did it with a buddy of mine.
Yep.
And in that tournament, we literally just fished opposite sides of every channel and stuff.
Yep.
And he'd say, "Hey, we'd get to the end channel. And he'd say, "Hey, what happened?" I'd say, "Hey, I got him doing this on this." He'd say, "I got him doing this on this," and it worked both ways.
Yep.
But we basically would cut stuff down in half and do different things, and we figured out some stuff.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing we want to share too is it's not just about the tournament and the intel. It's your prep. It's the things you need. Like DJ and I, we had a long talk the other day. He's like, I have everything in my truck. I have a spare trolling motor and, spare trailer jack. If your trailer jack goes out, which mine just went out a month ago in the garage. And luckily I just put it on the boat and it went out. So I couldn't take it off the boat. I had to go buy a trailer jack and put it on so I could take the trailer off the truck, So anyway, we're going to try to bring a lot of that to that behind the scenes knowledge of a lot of what is required to tournament fish that guys just a lot of ignoring.
They don't think about. They don't think about it. When I started out last year in the NPFL, you and I would travel to Havasu, but you're gone for it's only you're not that far,
right? Exactly.
But when you're going away and you're far away from home and stuff, you got to have all that little stuff. And we're going to go over that. I'm going to go over what I keep in my truck, some stuff that maybe we keep in our boat that guys don't think of. But I mean, I know I've got stuff in my truck that I've accumulated now over time by learning. Oh, I better have an extra one of these. I better have an extra one of those. And there's some little things that we'll give you guys tips on that are really important to have on your boat. That if you don't have one, I was in Florida a year ago fishing a tournament, and literally, thank God it was the off day, but I had broken a bolt on my engine. There's this little screw, and I don't even know what it's called, but it basically controls your jack plate and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. That little screw you'd think was so simple. You think you could go buy one anywhere. Thank God it was my day off. I broke it. I think I either hit a gator or one of those manatees and busted that. And I got in, but it won't let you trim up or down without that. So I had a day off. I had to run, I don't know what it was, an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes to this one marina guy that had one, picked it up, brought it all the way back, set it in. I keep 2 in my boat, in my truck now. And I keep, and they're cheap. They're not that expensive, but boy, if you break it and you can't get one, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. Yep.
You can idle around. Your boat's not going to get on plane. You're not going to do anything. So there's stuff like that I've learned over the years now that you need. And that's the stuff we want to bring to you guys that maybe you don't think about. And you and I probably hadn't thought about it at some point, but over time of fishing, we've learned these things and we're like, hey, good idea to have this, good idea to have that. And you just keep them in your truck and they're there when you need them.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty cool stuff right there. And it's happened to all of us. You go practice, spend a lot of money and time. And then day one of the tournament of a 3-day derby, something goes wrong and you're dead out of the water and your tournament's done. Throw it all away. You don't want that. If you can prevent it, why not?
You hear guys all the time say that too. I don't know how many buddies I've had. Day one, oh, this happened. I mean, I have a spare lower unit, and day one, I blew my lower unit. That's why I keep a spare lower unit with me, because if I blow my lower unit and I got a tournament, 3-day tournament or something,
you're done.
What am I going to do? I have to go hope I can find a lower unit somewhere. Good luck. You may get lucky, but I can unbolt it, throw a new one on, and I'm gone.
Yep.
And you got to have that stuff. I mean, I keep it. We'll go over it. We've got examples of stuff that's happened that we'll let you guys know. And we'll do, those are going to be separate. Those will be videos we can do here, but there'll also be separate videos that you and I are going to film on just little things. I've got some baits I've been making. I'm going to do some videos on that type of stuff. And it's all stuff to help you guys out with, what kind of bait, why I use a certain bait, why Art uses a certain bait, why we use a certain hook, spear point, or why we use a certain rod or whatever. But we're going to have all that kind of content on here, and hopefully everyone picks up a little something from it. And some of the guys from Spear Point that we can have on, hopefully they can pass a little something on. I think it's gonna be a nice little show.
Yep. Yep.
I'm excited. I'm excited about getting this going. You and I have been talking about this for how long now?
Yeah, a little while now. Finally, we got enough time. We just got to jump into it and do it. Like today,
you just got to do it.
We're like, okay, today's the day. Let's go.
Yeah, literally called you this morning. I was like, you want to do it tonight? You're like, I'm free tonight. Let's start it.
And I mean, we put a solid hour in almost. And
yeah, I know. Yeah, we're 55 minutes in it. And
so that's good. Get everyone to kind of get acquainted. And then going forward, like DJ was saying, we'll really start breaking down some intricate, detailed stuff, whether it's our assessment of what the lakes are doing today, this week, this month. We'll give you all those breakdowns in the future shows.
Baits.
The whole nine.
Stuff that's coming out.
Whatever intel we can find at the dock. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people, and I'm fishing a lot. 2-3 days a week, some of these places, and whatever we can figure out, we'll share with you guys, and make sure you got some good intel to go out there and catch fish. Because hey, if you're catching fish, you're having fun, you keep fishing, and if you're not, you maybe pick up golfing, and we don't see you again. So we want to make sure you catch fish and you're part of the industry, because it's growing, and I think the more it's growing, the more opportunities are opening up for tournament anglers. So we're all just excited to see the growth going into the industry the last couple of years, and hopefully everyone can sustain it moving forward and just make it better for the next generation. Because I tell you, the kids now have it really, really awesome, man. If we had college teams and high school teams, we would have been fishing from back then. But if
we had YouTube,
right, all that secret knowledge and things like that. But so if we can help the future of the sport grow with our hour here, hour there, and just keep people excited about fishing, I think we did our jobs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
And plan on getting back again next week and see if we can't put together something for you guys. And we'll post this on Facebook, on Instagram, all that stuff to let you guys know what show we have coming up, and maybe a little hint of what we have, in the works for that show, and then and go from there.
Sounds
so
good.
Art, sounds awesome.
Yep. DJ, thank you. Everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you very much. It means a lot to us. And
definitely. And we'll be back. We'll be back next week.
All right.
So we'll see everyone then. Okay, guys, check out I've got down at the bottom. Check it out. We've got Art's. Actually, let me put it up really quick here for him.
I don't have a Facebook, guys. I only have an Instagram. I live a very busy life. It's hard to keep up with what I'm doing as it is. So just one social media platform is enough for me.
There it is. It's scrolling around the bottom right there. It's the spear point guy.
Yep.
All right. My stuff's all on there. Same thing. Everything for me is DJ Evans Fishing. That's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check it all out. We'll put this video up on YouTube, so make sure you guys subscribe to it, like it, and hopefully build some traffic there and get some momentum going forward. And we just keep this thing rolling every week for you guys, and we watch it grow and grow.
Sounds good.
All right, Art. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Art will talk to you later. See you guys.
Later.